Pets are great, but they tend to be a lot of work and can be costly. When most people think of pets, they think of dogs or cats, but leopard geckos can be quite the companion. I know from experience that us college students have the busiest schedules between school, work, and our social lives, so a low maintenance, low cost pet such as a leopard gecko is perfect for our hectic days. I've had experience caring for a variety of reptiles over the years, such as leopard geckos and bearded dragons, and I'll be the first to say that they are a piece of cake to take care of. Today, I'd like to share my knowledge with you of how to care for a leopard gecko, and within that, I'll be teaching you about the necessary supplies, how to build a terrarium, how to handle them, and how to feed them. First, I'll be speaking about the supplies. There's a variety of supplies that you need in order to take care of a leopard gecko. The first is a 15 to 20 gallon tank, as you can see over here. A 15-gallon tank is great for a juvenile leopard gecko, which is basically just a leopard gecko under a year old, and a 20-gallon is perfect for a adult leopard gecko. You also need a heat mat and heat lamp, 2 hide spaces, a shallow water and food dish, but the food dish is kind of optional depending on the diet of your leopard gecko, a thermometer and hydrometer, and bedding. For bedding right now, Opie has a paper towel in there because that's what he prefers, but he could also use something like this, which is fiber bedding, and that works just as well. All of these components are then carefully placed within the terrarium. How you build the terrarium is a crucial aspect to the gecko's quality of life. Leopard geckos are cold-blooded, so temperature and humidity are kind of a life or death aspect. This is the temperature and hydrometer that I use, and the temperature within the tank varies because they do regulate their body heat, and there is a cold side and a warm side. The warm side ranges from mid-80s to mid-90s, and the cold side ranges from mid-70s to mid-80s. A humid hide, cold hide, and a basking area are all required for a leopard gecko's terrarium. This is just one of the hides that I have. It is mostly covered. It has holes on the inside for him to crawl underneath to seclude himself from everything else that's going on, because as you can see, my terrarium for him is very open. Cleaning the terrarium is also an easy but important task. Leopard geckos pick where they go to the bathroom, so you do need to daily spot clean inside of their tank, but the entire tank only needs to be cleaned and the bedding only needs to be switched out every week or so. When the leopard gecko is finally settled in, you can begin handling it. Holding leopard geckos are fun, but there's a few super important points that make the experience more safe and more enjoyable for your leopard gecko. Picking up leopard geckos is a super important aspect to caring for leopard geckos because they are very small and very fragile. So when you pick them up, you should not squeeze them or use the pinching method to picking them up, and you should not grab them by the tail because they have a muscle that can pinch the tail off and they can actually drop it. So when you do pick them up, you want to be sure that you have a flat hand, you slide your fingers underneath their body, and you only just lift straight up. And that's how you lift them up. They should only be handled for about 10 to 15 minutes at a time. When you think of hanging out with your pet, typically you think of sitting on the couch with them and cuddling with them while you watch TV. Unfortunately, leopard geckos don't really like that, and in this way they're more of a showcase pet. Geckos also chirp. They don't chirp because they're angry or hurt. They mostly just chirp because they're uncomfortable or they don't want you to be doing a particular thing that you're doing. And one of the things that could cause them to chirp, just as an example, would be constantly picking them up and then setting them back down. Handling should be narrowed to a minimum when they shed. Because they are reptiles, they do shed their skin, When they're younger, they do it more often, about every week, which is where Opie's at about right now. And when they get older, it'll be minimized to about half of that, so maybe every week and a half to 2 weeks. Along with carrying and handling leopard geckos, I would also like to discuss feeding them. Feeding them is a simple task, but it does require some knowledge about how to feed them and what they eat. Leopard geckos have scheduled feeding times, so they do need to be fed at a set time every day or every other day. When they're younger, they will get fed every day about 2 insects per inch. Opie's about 5 to 6 inches right now, so he's getting about 11 insects. And he's also getting fed in between 5 and 6, because that's pretty much just what's best for my schedule, but any time works as long as they're getting fed at about the same time. There's a variety of different foods that leopard geckos can eat. The most common ones are roaches, mealworms, and crickets, but most of these food options that they eat don't have enough nutritional value to keep them healthy, so calcium powder is an important aspect to feeding them. This is the calcium powder that I use. It basically just allows them to get the nutrients that they need. When you use it, you only use it once every other time that they eat, and all you have to do is put a pinch of the powder into a baggie, put the insects that you're feeding them into a baggie, shake them up so that they're coated, and place them inside the food dish for them to eat. There's also Reptisafe. Reptisafe is what you put in their water to take out the chlorine so that that doesn't get ingested into their bodies. All you have to do is fill up the water with like just regular sink water and then put a drop of this in there so that it doesn't end up hurting them. In conclusion, leopard geckos are the perfect pets for people who are often busy and looking for a little bit of companionship. To take care of leopard geckos, you must first know how to pick the right supplies, build a terrarium, and know how to handle and how to feed them. Throughout this speech, we've learned about geckos and how to care for them, and ultimately, just remember that geckos are considerably a great option for a pet.